Not every Pokemon game is created equal. Every generation has you picking between one version or the other, only to find out later that you chose wrong. Today I'll be Nuzlocking Pokemon Crystal using Gold and Silver's version exclusive Pokemon, and I'll do my very best to take them all the way to Mount Silver. This is a hardcore Nuzlocke, so if a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever. In addition to the other rules, the pairs of the Gold and Silver exclusives will be soul linked. They must always be together, in the PC or on the team, and if one dies, then the other will too. This makes the very start of our journey much more precarious. P1 and P2 are both equally adorable, however, they won't be able to cover the other's faults. They actually won't be able to do much of anything. Have you seen their level up movesets? But that's where Scent 1 and Scent 2 come in. They're acquired shortly after my two Ps in a pod take out the first few trainers in our way. From Route 46 and the Dark Cave, these little guys are the entire reason I'm playing Crystal and not the remakes. Because, for some reason, this is the only version of Johto where they're obtainable before the 8th gym. I could have bit the bullet and played Heart Gold, but the P-Bugs would have to get us all the way past Bugsy on their own. And I don't think that would be possible. But, hey, that's just my 2 cents. Our first turtle as a team is Sprout Tower, which they say is built around a giant Bellsprout. And I, for one, think that's very distasteful, and maybe even yucky. My 2 Ps heavily resist the brigade of regular Bellsprouts, while my 2 Scents deal with the occasional Hoot Hoot. But when it came to challenge the main Sage, Scent 1 and P1 took turns beating up the first Bellsprout, leaving the level 10 Hoot Hoot to come out? Alright, well, I guess I should have come here after Falkner. We lower their attack a couple times to gain some advantage, but it doesn't take long for a crit to occur. Neat! I switched to P2 because it looks like they don't have Peck, and get the poison right away. Thank the heavens. It doesn't take much longer for them to succumb to the poison, and Bellsprout 2 was no match. Well, I know for a fact that Falkner's Pidgeotto has Gust, so the gym fight will likely play out a little differently. For now, P2 safely challenges the lead Pidgey. They don't have Gust, go figure. Scent 2 tags in to finish them off, and readily awaits the illegally evolved Avian. Just like with the Hoot Hoot, our plan is to send a couple Growls. And once we trade a couple hits, Scent 1 switches in hopes of finishing the job. Scratch does pretty considerable damage thanks to our 80 base attack stat, but it doesn't change the fact that we need to risk a crit. My Ps definitely can't do this, and Scent 2 doesn't quite have the damage output. We have no choice but to continue applying pressure. And we dodge the crit. Now Scent 2 can return and safely live one crit, should there be one, and finish the gym battle with one last tackle. As a reward for that incredible performance, Falkner, the bird gym leader, rewarded me with my first TM. Mudslap. Okay, I guess I'll take it. Scent 2 doesn't get another ground move until level 50, so this is honestly pretty nice. I do some minor exploring in the Union Cave on the way to the second gym, and find the TM for Swift. All normal attacks are physical in this gen, so Scent 1 will greatly appreciate that as well.
It's unsafe to go in there, so I'm standing guard. Aren't I a good Samaritan?
What a good Samaritan. Off to Bugsy. His Scyther may not have Technician or U-turn in this game, but it's still a big problem. In the meantime, I lead with P2 with the goal of poisoning the lead Metapod. Anticipating Kakuna next, I commit an early switch to P1. I wanted to preserve my other guys for the Scyther, but Scyther comes out early anyways. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, as P1 can use Supersonic and use the confusion to break up the ever-building damage of Fury Cutter. It lands on our second attempt, but P1 will do no damage. P2 instead returns on a confusion hit to hopefully get another poison. They break out a confusion and hit us with Leer, followed by a painful continuation of their Fury Cutter rampage. I frantically switch back to P1 to set up confusion again, but it's too late. We're dead to another hit now. The Leer on P1 is undone, but even still, she's brought to 1 on the switch. Okay, Scent 2 has a great defense stat and should resist the hit, and... Gen 1 and its rock ground types have done irreversible damage to my understanding of the type chart. Fury Cutter continues to land, and one by one, my pairs of exclusives follow the lead of Scent 2. This sucks, and we haven't even got to Whitney yet. With my sheer number of Pokemon, getting around Falkner and back to Bugsy again isn't too bad. And with my newfound rage, I decided to take on Bugsy with a more assertive strategy. We're going on the offensive from the get-go, and Scent 1 Junior's Swift does way more damage to the Metapod than I was expecting. defeating them within 2 hits. It's the same story against the Kakuna, so we once again stand face to face with Scyther. Their first Fury Cutter lands, but Scent 1 takes the strategic route to lick them while they're close. Not only does it hit a weak spot, but it also paralyzes them. P1 switches in on the full para to land a Supersonic. I'm fully aware of what this thing is capable of now, and any tool I have to get in their way is massive. Now Scent 1 returns, and amidst all the switching, the Scyther hurts itself in confusion, only to use one last quick attack before falling to Scent 1's relentless volley of Swifts. I think it's really easy to assume the older games are stupidly easy considering how much this series has developed since then, but this fight was a good wake-up call. Pokemon Crystal does not mess around, and now I'm even more worried about Whitney. By the way, can you guys believe that neither of my bugs can learn Fury Cutter? Goldenrod is going to be a huge checkpoint in the game, where many opportunities open up. But before that, we battle our rival for the first real time. Fortunately, most of his Pokemon, like Ghastly, don't have many tools, so the only real hurdle is Croconaw. Once again, Scent 1 is the only one who can truly stand toe-to-toe with the ace, but due to some leers, she needs the help of P2 to back her up. The teamwork does them in before long, and now we can finally begin our training arc. The Goldenrod department store is nice and all, but I beeline it straight through the city to get to Route 35 and 36. This is where my next 2 exclusives lie, Goody Shoe 1 and Goody Shoe 2. I should mention that Vulpix is actually unobtainable in Crystal, but since I'm strictly basing this on where they'd appear in Gold and Silver, I'll still be picking one up in the spirit of the challenge. This duo is great, but they both still need a Firestone to evolve, and the Johto games are weird about certain items. In the original Game Boy Color games, the only Firestone I could get naturally is in the post-game from Bill's grandfather. But, unique to Crystal, if I become friends with Schoolboy Alan, on Sundays he'll randomly call me to give me a Firestone that he found. I've cleared out my contacts list to make his calls that much more likely, and yes, I have friends. This is just my strategy, okay? Oh, a call already? Yeah, a Growlithe? Anything else? Drats. Well, it's time we train up the team and prepare for Whitney, so... Ooh. Sorry, I just got sidetracked by one of the best themes in Pokemon. Even more so than Bugsy, this upcoming Miltank will be a problem. Disregarding Rollout hitting 4 of my 6 Pokemon for super effective, Stomp's flinches and Milk Drink's healings are enough to end attempt after attempt. My plan for now is to battle every trainer I can in order to raise my Pokemon's DVs, this game's version of EVs, as well as gaining as much money as possible to pick up the TMs they're selling in Goldenrod. In this version, that means buying the elemental punches, as well as earning 1 free return TM, which is nice. Oh, and Alan called me again to give me an early Firestone. What a good Samaritan. But honestly, I'd rather keep my Goody Two Shoes unevolved if possible, because they'd miss out on some pretty good moves otherwise. But that covers everything, so let's go challenge Whitney. As always, she leads with the Metronoming Clefairy. P1 has actual attacks now, which theoretically means she could handle the fight. But after Clefairy gets 2 whole double slap crits, they wiggle their finger and land on using Blizzard. It's a good thing P1's only good stat is special defense, because we were donezo otherwise. Our next Thunder Punch doesn't yet finish them off, and they end up using another double slap, where every hit does 5 points. Wow. P1 finishes them off, and Miltank makes her presence known. Scent 2 can safely eat the resisted rollouts, and we take this opportunity to hit them with a couple mud slaps, followed by a couple growls. I could continue lowering their stats beyond the 2 stages in accuracy and attack, but I didn't want to play that way. We're dead to crits no matter what, anyways. Scent 2 enters the field to lower their defense by 2 stages, in order to work around the Milk Drink. Goody Shoe 2 then takes some brutal damage so we can land a Confuse Ray. This lets Goody Shoe 1 tag in and get the Ember off for free. I know we lowered their physical defense, but now I'm trying to land a burn. We're using everything we can to take this thing down. The battle turns into a never-ending back and forth where Goody Shoe 1 does damage, dodges some hits, and Miltank heals. Eventually they finally get burned, and we could work with that chip damage by digging underground thanks to the Dig TM. But even with the burn, I quickly get cold feet and pivot out. I felt like the longer Goody Shoe 1 stayed in particular, the more likely he'd get crit. Instead, Scent 2 enters, and her new headbutt does all the damage it needs until Miltank runs out of milk and finally gets defeated. From the metronomes to the mud slaps, it sucked that this whole battle relied on RNG. Planning for it was a nightmare, but we made it through. Miraculously without any deaths. It's about that time of the video where I remind you to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really enjoy making these videos, and the support helps me continue making them. That's all, thank you. A level cap of 25 means that we get a couple of evolutions. The first of which is P2, whose best attack is still Nightshade. Man, what were they cooking with Ariados? The next one comes later, after another rival battle, but because his team hasn't grown much as mine, it's over in no time. We discover the legendary beasts in the process, but I'm not too interested in them right now. I have more important matters to tend to, like evolving Scent 2. She may not have the great moveset right now, but the new stats are amazing. Even still, she isn't my lead for Morty. Mud Slap is great and all, but Scent 2 is very likely to get trapped in with Mean Look and Cursed. Goody Shoe 1 instead bites away, taking out both Ghastly and Haunter. But with a curse just set, that didn't chip away at us for some reason. Gengar makes his entrance. And this is where Scent 2 comes in. Aside from Hypnosis, we're mostly safe, and our Mud Slap keeps it that way. No Levitate means that the Fog Badge is ours in no time. Yeah, definitely no Whitney. Johto has opened up to us now, thanks to the access of Surf, and we spent most of the time going back and forth across most of it. We head to Olivine City, battle our way up through the lighthouse, and discover that Amphi is sick. Aww. Alan calls me, so I walk all the way back to pick up my second Firestone. Nice. Goodbye, Alan. I go back and surf all the way to Cyanwood City to fight Eugene, but I realize that Team Rocket is somewhat underleveled during the Red Gyarados story. So I pick up the secret potion and walk all the way over to Mahogany Town to do that first. One side to all of the walking means that I'll have access to my next two version exclusives. Evil 1, the Meowth, could have been found on Route 38, but Evil 2, the Mankey, was all the way over here on Route 42 in Gold version. I don't have the pairs until both are available, so that's why I waited. But now they can both evolve at level 28. Still, I'm a little underleveled compared to when I'm usually here, but P1 and her Thunder Punches make up for that. Anyone can get a Red Gyarados, that's not exclusive. Lance leads the raid on Team Rocket Space, but he seemingly only attempts one murder. What a good Samaritan. I don't really see him much after that, until I get stopped over by their power generators. Lance stops the grunt while I take on the admin, but Evil 1 has a great offensive presence with Headbutt and sweeps the fight on her own. Lance says he doesn't see a switch, and that we have no choice but to make the hostage electrodes faint to turn off the power, but, like, there's for sure a switch somewhere. Or like, some cables we could slice? Well, whatever, we take out the electrode, and since I'm in the area, I take on Price too. With Evil 2's help, he's not a problem. The Seal and Dugong are done in with little hassle, and while we're dead to a hit from the Piloswine now, Goody Shoe 2 is safe to swap in. Piloswine is special because it's part ground, but for some reason it doesn't have any ground type attacks. A couple Confuse Rays and Embers later, and that's that. On my way back to Cyanwood City to fight Chuck, I stop by Amphi to drop off the secret potion. I get jump scared by a flash of lightning, but it just turns out that the medicine worked. Cool! Maybe I'm the good Samaritan. Oh, also, Scent 1 evolves at level 30 apparently. Sorry buddy, but I'm not bringing you to this gym. I mean, it's not like we need her anyways. Scent 2 is very bulky, and Mud Slap comboed with a strength is more than enough for the Primeape. Poliwrath always uses Surf into Scent 2, but as I said before, P1 has a great special defense. Believe it or not, Light Screen makes it even better. It takes a little longer than I'd like, but all P1 has to do is use Thunder Punch a few times before we win the fight. And now that we can finally level past 30, Goody Shoe 2 finally learns Flamethrower. She doesn't have any other moves that we're interested in, so I use my first Firestone and evolve her. Of course, Goody Shoe 2 was always going to have a great matchup into Jasmine's team, but Steelix, who I was at least a little worried about, just gets crit and taken out in no time. Man, forget all that Bugsy and Whitney stuff. These games are easy. Now it's time for the climax, as Team Rocket takes over the Goldenrod radio tower. They plan to get Giovanni to return, and I wish it was more interesting than it was. There's a guy with a Porygon, I guess. My rival battles me in the underground, and his Pokemon are finally evolving, but he hasn't unlocked the power of friendship yet, so it's another quick fight. I actually spent most of my time on this button puzzle. I figured out that the order they're pressed matters right away, but spent like 15 minutes on this, only to realize the code is 321. Awesome. And in the last stretch, it's round 2 against a couple more admins. Honestly, their teams don't suck. It'd just be nice if they weren't spread across so many different trainers. These fights could have been way more interesting otherwise. Bah, you know what? I'm in a good mood. Let's kill Suicune. Why not? Now that we finally entered Route 44, I feel like I should mention the Pokemon Exclusive II Gold and Silver. Game Freak wanted players to trade, so they made even some Johto Pokemon unobtainable in Crystal. Route 44 is where the last of the Pokemon Exclusive II Gold and Silver reside. It started with the Mareep line, then Girafarig, and now the Remoraid line. I was contemplating bringing those guys into this challenge, but I'd have to choose a pair and leave one of the 3 out. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, so I decided not to add them. But still, now we can pick up 2 more pairs. Gligar and Delibird might be the most unbalanced version exclusive pair in history, but say hello to Bird 1 and Bird 2. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stones in this game, so they'll be spending most of the time in the PC. On the flip side, I also get Mantine and Skarmory. It takes 2 to tango, and oh boy do they. On typings alone, they're gonna help out the team a lot. And don't worry guys, Bird 1 is capable of taking out a Dratini. How about that? Claire has a little more than a Dratini though, so we're gonna have to prepare the team with some oomph. She has 3 Dragonairs that have different coverage moves, along with Thunder Wave and Dragon Breath. Other than the first one, I don't know which one's which until they use that coverage move. Not to mention her Kingdra, whose stats are insane for this game. This isn't the only time we'll have this kind of dilemma, so let's make sure we stay on top of it from the get-go. Claire's Surfing Dragonair is first up, which leaves Tango 1 relatively safe. She lands her very first Blizzard that we got from gambling, which takes them out and baits what I can only assume to be the Thunderbolting Dragonair. When Scent 2 tags in, she absorbs the Thunder Wave, so I'm still not 100% sure of my choice. Regardless, we stay in, only to get hit by Dragon Breath. Ewy. Scent 2's strengths more than overpower her, and the last Dragonair comes out. Now Evil 2 takes the full force of the predicted Ice Beam, and she took it personally. She may not be a special attacker, but the critical Ice Punch makes up for that and then some, making way for the ace. Expecting a Surf, I'm back to Tango 1, but instead, it's a Hyper Beam. Okay, well, I don't want the run to hinge on a Supersonic, so I go for Blizzard, which fortunately lands, before predicting another Hyper Beam and switching into Tango 2. While they recharge, I get Scent 2 in there for free, and she somehow outspeeds the Kingdra to comfortably land a critical hit, winning us our 8th and final gym badge. For now. Man, they do not mess around sometimes in old Pokemon games occasionally. Perhaps. On the final leg of the journey, before the Elite Four, I make sure to battle every single trainer in hopes of getting my Tangos caught up with their DVs. Some of these fights scare me a little bit, but before long, we make it to the cold and barren road of victory. I guess the trainers that were here have already been defeated. That works out for me, because I just want to pick up the TM for Earthquake and leave. Oh. I didn't think this was the end already. Okay. Tango 1 is at the start of my party, so it isn't the end of the world. Sneasel has very little coverage, and is level 34, so Evil 2 safely saves the day. Even after all this time, my rival still lacks the power of friendship, and his Golbat gets out-muscled by Scent 2. Scent 1 is then able to deal with the Feraligatr, as usual. We slap Magneton with a little mud, and the trait evolutions are both outplayed by Evil number 1. Man, if only he had someone to trade with. I mean, like, he's never asked me. Maybe I would. I don't know. Who knows, not me. Going into the Elite Four, I had to be extra careful. Because all of my pairs have to stick together at all times, I'll be going in with what could be considered a suboptimal team. Overall, I like who I stuck with, and they include my 2 Scents, both of the Evils, and the 2 Hutango. Overall, their type coverage is really nice, and the extra TMs in my bag are gonna help out a lot. Now, let's see if the Elite Four is full of Chucks, or if it's full of Whitneys. Will starts off the gauntlet, and with him being a Psychic-type specialist, I decided that Evil 1 would be good to take him on. The Shadow Ball TM getting boosted by the spell tag should spell some nasty damage, but the weakest Pokemon in the Elite Four lives in the red. Evil 1 gets confused in return, so I switched to Tangle 1. Her amazing special defense lets her eat a couple Psychics before finishing them off with Waterfall. Gotta save that Surf PP, you never know. Jinx is a little touchy, but we decide to stay in and use Wing Attack. Now, Tango 2 might not be especially bulky, but the Steel typing goes a long way. He switches in, but because we miss our very first attempt at Fly, my Metallic Sky Warrior is put to sleep with Lovely Kiss. We take more damage than we would really like before waking up, so I just go back to Evil 1. Even though she's taken some damage, we're back on track and are able to use Shadow Ball and somehow eliminate Jinx, Exeggutor, Slowbro, and the last Xatu. Exeggutor could have done some big damage, but they played passively and got punished. Dang, they didn't even remodel Will's area. He's still using Loreley's. That's kinda messed up. Koga got promoted and is guarding Room 2. He loves his statuses, but more specifically, he loves Toxic. Tango 2 is fully immune to poison, so he's my frontrunner. Ariados attempts to dodge our attacks by using Double Team, but it's no use. Fortress follows up, and while I can't do much to Tango 2, they are still a very good wall. Fly would be okay if they didn't have Protect, so I make the call to send in Scent 1. I'm dreading an explosion, but Scent 1's Fire Punch finishes them off before they can even consider it. I keep her on the field in the face of Venomoth, and we tank their Psychic really well before getting the one-shot with Slash. Let's go, Scent 1! Muck is really annoying with its Minimize strat, but Scent 1 once again saves the day with her Earthquake. Don't worry guys, I found the TM after all. Crobat on the field means that Tango 2 gets to trade some more hits, and his immense bulk means that he'll come out on top almost every single time. And Bruno is Bruno. If you're not prepared for him, then I could see his team sneaking up on you. But Tango 1 is fully prepared to deal with Hitmontop. Hitmonchan, on the other hand, has all of the elemental punches and Mach Punch. So, Evil 2 tags in to eat the hit. She isn't the bulkiest. We get paralyzed by the Thunder Punch and take the Mach Punch head on, but that's no problem. She's here for damage and returns the hit with a cross chop that they will not forget. Hitmonlee's whole thing is high jump kick. I want to work around that with Fly, but Tango 2 just one-shots them with the attack anyways. He's holding the Sharp Beak, I don't know if that mattered. And Scent 2 finally makes her Elite Four debut against Onyx. And while she's still only working with Mud Scraps until she hits level 50, that's all she needs for now. Machamp is last, and we get one little slap in before they land a cross chop, and I see my life flash before my eyes. Man, is that what I sound like? Anyways, Tango 2 returns to finish the fight with another Fly. I'll be honest, I was not expecting that damage output from him. Good job! Rounding out the Elite Four is Karen, and her specialty is Pokemon that she just likes. If she made it this far like that, then you know she's a problem. Imagine going to a Pokemon VGC tournament and running into like a Tangela. That would send shivers down my spine. Evil 2 at least has a good type matchup, and snaps out of the Umbreon's confusions with a Bitterberry to Karate Chop them into dust. Vileplume is a little different, threatening the Para, but Evil 2 powers through yet again to land all of the fire punches she needs. Evil 2's counterpart, Evil 1, is the obvious answer into Gengar. She's immune to the Ghost type, so we only really need to play around Destiny Bond. Gengar is faster than everyone I've got, so we use the Icy Wind TM from Price to slow them down. Or at least that's what I thought, but it turned out we outspit anyway. They set up Curse, so I pivot out and then back into Evil 1, who safely outspeeds and Shadow Balls without any worry. I go for Icy Wind once again against Murkrow, while the Feint Attack does way more damage than I was expecting. We definitely kill with another hit, but we could miss. So Scent 1 is the Mont who finishes off the bird. Finally, Houndoom is scary, as she could do massive damage to any one of my team members. We stay in as is and eat a Flamethrower, and oh my goodness, am I glad that didn't crit. With one final Earthquake, we defeat Karen without any deaths, and head on to our toughest challenge yet. These battles have overall gone way better than I imagined they would. I certainly dodged a couple bullets, but my team did a really great job all around. Lance, on the other hand, is a whole nother fight. Just like with Claire, he has multiple Dragonites that I'll have to guess which is which. Not only that, but Gyarados, Charizard, and Aerodactyl? It'll be tough, but I think I have found the perfect route for this fight. Gen 1's really odd balancing is something of a blessing for this run, because putting Thunder on Evil 1 is my best bet at taking out the monstrous Gyarados. My heart skips a beat when we miss, but for some reason, they just spend some time setting up the rain. I appreciate them setting the tone, but I extra appreciate them making Thunder 100% accurate. I have no idea which Dragonite is out now. Whether it has Thunder or Blizzard is completely up in the air. Evil 1 could probably take one hit, so she stays in to use Icy Wind. We get paralyzed with Thunder Wave in return, so I remain unsure. Once again, we stay in and live a Hyper Beam this time, before taking them out with the following attack. Still don't know which one I knocked out. Mystery Dragonite 2 is next, and obviously, I have to switch. Scent 1 is my safest bet, as she's bulkier than Evil 1, and she finds out firsthand that this Dragonite knows Blizzard. And of course, they get the freeze. I actually just sat here staring at my screen for a few minutes. Apparently in Gen 2, there's essentially a 10% chance that we thaw out. I figure we could still take another hit, so we might as well try, but before anything else, the Dragonite uses Hyper Beam and crit kills Scent 1. I seriously cannot believe this luck. And worst of all, Scent 2 will be following Scent 1. There's no cure for a heartbreak in this game, and my second anchor doesn't have much time left. I could send in Scent 2 right away to get revenge, but Evil 2 should help me route just a little bit better. She quickly takes out the dragon and baits in Aerodactyl. Tango 2 swaps in and has a generally good type matchup here. I kind of messed up by not giving him the Steel Wing TM, unfortunately. He does get it naturally at level 49. I really had no reason to save it. On top of that, we get crit by the very first Rock Slide. Very cool. I have no choice but to switch, and Scent 2 is out for blood. She immediately uses Rollout, crits, eats a Hyper Beam head on, and finishes them off with another crit. Wow. Charizard comes out next, and for a moment, I have a little hope that she'll be able to take out another Pokemon. But unfortunately, her special defense just isn't enough, and Scent 2 falls to a Flamethrower. We didn't even get to learn Earthquake. Tango 1 takes the field and should have a great matchup here. Somehow, however, the Charizard lives on 1 after our Surf, and they have no reason not to do massive damage with their own Hyper Beam after that. What is going on? Now with the final Dragonite out, thanks to the Hyper Beam, Tango 1 isn't as safe as she would have been, and Tango 2 has to switch in on what I assume to be another Hyper Beam. I'm quickly realizing that we're going to be leaving this battle with 2 additional deaths. But we need to make sure that we leave at all. Tango 2 gets at least 1 attack off here, and I opt for Sand Attack. Our damage won't change anything, but even still, they land a Fire Blast, and Tango 2 is done. Not long for this world, Tango 1 enters the field one last time to help out the team in a way that only she can. We know for a fact that she baits Hyper Beam, and with that move baited, our path to victory is within sight. Down to only 1 pair, Evil 2 remorsefully sets foot on the field. Should she blame herself for not being as good at special attacks? Maybe if she was stronger, she could have swept. Should she blame me for not making better calls? I am the trainer after all, and all of my Pokemon put their lives in my hands. But at the end of the day, Lance is the champion now. And some of us seem to forget that sometimes. We have nothing left we could do but attack with Ice Punch on the recharging turn. And after that, Evil 2 miraculously outspeeds to finish them off without a scratch. Champion Lance and the Elite Four are defeated entirely. But we still have way more to go. Rest in peace Scents 1 and 2, and Tangos 1 and 2. The Peas and Goody Shoes rejoin the team in their stead. And with the level cap as high as it is now, Goody Shoe 1 is able to evolve with the access to both Flamethrower and Extreme Speed. On top of that, P2 finally gets a good stab move with Sludge Bomb. We've still got some power. I set the level cap all the way to Blue's level of 58, because Crystal's postgame doesn't work well with level caps. Every other gym leader is lower than the Elite Four, except for Blaine, who's at level 50. I respect what they were doing back in the day, but for the purposes of the run, I'm setting the level cap to blue. I still attempt to fight them in the order of weakest to strongest, but on the way to fighting Jasmine, I ran into some technical difficulties. I never got the bike! So I boat all the way back to Johto, get the bike, try to boat back, but they don't let me. I fly to New Bark Town and go east a couple steps, and then fly to Celadon City to take Cycling Road. Jasmine is a really easy fight, but with Brock next in line, I've gotta do a whole other side quest to bring the power plant back. I finally solved that quest, and when I walk up to Lavender Town from the southern Fuchsia City, I realize that I forgot something else. My radio card. I can't boat back to Johto to get it, but now I can take the train after doing another side quest with the copycat girl. I get my card, unlock the Pokeflute station, and get rid of Snorlax. With that, I can finally knock out the Kanto gyms. Evil 2 makes Brock easy enough, Goody Shoe 2 sweeps Erica, Surge paralyzes Goody Shoe 1, but 2 returns just as well to clean up. Misty was a joint effort, but P1 in particular puts her new Giga Drain to good use. Goody Shoe 1 makes up for Surge by dealing with Sabrina's team, and Blaine makes me a little sad, but gets immaculately outplayed by a crit. Couldn't be me. Blue is all that's left for Kanto, and these last for a really good reason. I mean, like, more than just his level cap. His team is really well balanced, and even though he's not a current standing champion, it sure feels like it. I can't rely on a sweep this time, and will need everyone front and center for this fight. His Pidgeot, who apparently is his most marketable Pokemon, starts off the fight. Evil 1, who still has Thunder, is my best bet for this matchup. Return would be good too, but Mirror Move would hit back like a truck. We miss Thunder turn 1 again, and this strategy pays off because they Mirror Move Thunder just to miss it as well. Next turn, Thunder misses again, and we get hit by Wing Attack. What happened to my luck? Evil 1 finally lands the Thunder, and manages to get the Para as well, ensuring that they go down before we get any more hurt. Alakazam is next for some reason, so he simply goes down to 1 Shadow Ball. I seriously did not expect Evil 1 to put in this much work. Having taken damage, I'm fully expecting an Earthquake from the Rhyhorn, so P1 switches in. They end up just going for the Sandstorm, and P1 gets the Yoko with a single Giga Drain. Arcanine is now threatening a deadly Flamethrower, so I send in my own. I wasn't sure about giving Goody Shoe 1 my only dig TM for the whole game, but it pays off in full here. Spending a free turn underground means that we could stall not only the Sandstorm chip damage, but also our leftovers. Don't ask how I got them, please. Right before we get our final hit in, Arcanine roars and brings out Evil 1. I stay in to finish them off, but Blue just uses a full restore. Oops. Well, we managed to land a crit, forcing Blue to use yet another full restore. That's good. Goody Shoe 1 then returns to the fight, and the leftovers truly were a game-winning item here. We would not have lived long enough to finish this thing off otherwise. It's a scary gamble, but even considering Evil 2's Thunder Punches, Evil 1 is my only mon that can one-shot Gyarados. I send her in, risking a crit, and she dodges the Hydro Pump. 1 Thunder does them in, and Exeggutor comes out. No Psychic-type attacks means that P2 is completely safe to tag in. The Solar Beam crit does way more than I'd imagined, but Sludge Bomb does massive damage and... Oh, I still had a Berry on from the early game. And P2 dodges the Neg Bomb to finish off the Palm Tree, beating Blue and making us the strongest trainer in Kanto. Of course, there's one last trainer who we need to defeat. Red is atop Mount Silver and... 16 badges isn't enough? Oh, I need Professor Oak's approval, okay. Well, I meet up with him and return to the gate where... Did they kill the card? Mount Silver is a little annoying at first, forcing me to teach Flash to P1, an HM that I had been avoiding for as long as I could. But before long, we reach the summit. I walk up the asymmetrical pathway and stand before Red. Even though we're so high up, the air is thick. He's heard about my journey and has been waiting for me for a while now. It's only natural that we find out who's stronger. To answer his signature Pikachu, I'm leading with P2. We don't really have the best special defense, but everyone else was needed elsewhere. Even still, with the Pikachu charming us, Sludge Bomb does massive damage before our Quick Claw, once held by Scent 2, lets P2 outspeed and finish off the Electric Mouse. Because we're still at full HP, we try to get a Sludge Bomb poison before switching. And we get it. P2 would have tanked even a crit apparently, but now it's time to switch. Surprisingly, I can't say the same about Evil 2. It doesn't matter though, because one Karate Chop is all that it takes to finish off Snorlax. Way to go, Evil 2! We definitely can't stay out in front of the Espeon, but Goody Shoe 2 is really good at stalling special attackers. She may be dead to a crit now, but the Attract TM from Whitney combos perfectly with Confuse Ray, and the Espeon never lands a hit on us again. Now, Blastoise was a little tricky to plan around, with Evil 1 once again being my only choice. It's very nerve-wracking, and a second Surf will surely take her out. But she's gotten real good at landing Thunders lately, and the Magnet boosted attack lands the one-shot. Against Venusaur, P2 is our perfect counter. Their Solar Beams barely even tickle my primary starter, while our Ice Punches tear them into pieces. Sunny Day combos really well with them and their Synthesis, but more importantly, it will boost their upcoming Charizard's Flamethrowers. Due to their stalling, they get to set up another fresh round of Sunlight before they would go down. To avoid as many turns of rollover as possible, P1 stalls with Flash, and by the time she eliminates the best Gen 1 starter, Charizard only gets one last turn of the Sun. That turn is spent using Wing Attack on Goody Shoe 1, but with the leftovers equipped, that's as bad as it gets. We use Flamethrower to start while they miss Fire Spin, and since we're faster, I start going for the Bite Flinches, only for Charizard to catch up and land a critical hit. Unlucky for them, however, our very next bite does in fact get the flinch, leaving us ample opportunity to follow up with an extreme speed. This not only wins us the fight against the legendary Champion Red, but also wins us the entire game. I honestly didn't think I could do it. The losses at the Elite Four were so brutal that I thought the run was as good as over. This game was a really fun time, and it's still kinda crazy to me that it's the least sold mainline Pokemon game. I know it won't be happening for a long time, especially with the love that the Johto starters have been getting lately, but I cannot wait for Game Freak to return to these games. Shout out to Flygon HG who inspired this video with his Emerald run of the challenge. And also shout out to you, the viewer, for watching this video and making it all the way to the end. If you haven't already, then don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you wanted to. Who was your favorite pair of the run? Personally, I'm still surprised by the two evils. But that's all I've got today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.